What's up, guys? It is not Friday night, it's Tuesday night. So, as I tend to do, I was doom scrolling through Facebook. I got lost, deep rabbit hole. Got into a discussion with a guy in a tech forum. And I'm in quite a few forums, or groups, I guess, forums, groups, whatever. Um, and got into a pretty heated discussion that it pissed me off to the point that here I am making a video about it. Shade tree mechanics. Man. So I appreciate the service they offer as far as keeping me very, very busy. What I don't appreciate is the hubris and lack of skill, common sense, and willingness to actually do the job properly they bring to the game. Um, I'm being entirely facetious. It pisses me off every time I have a car come in that my uncle, brother, father, son, whatever worked on, who had no business being under the hood. You're not saving people money. You are costing them exponentially more than if you would just let us do the job the first time. One that comes to mind was a BMW that we had quoted a valve cover on. I don't remember what the quote was. It wasn't crazy for BMW, but it was a valve cover that is a mandatory replacement part. A handful of other fasteners that are mandatory replacement. A few other things that are pretty common with the job. I usually sell the breather lines because those plastic quick connect lines never break, right? If I don't need them, of course, I don't put them in, but 9 times out of 10, they end up popping and I replace them. And the quote was, I think the response was, "That's astronomical. That's way too much money. My whoever can do it way cheaper." Okay. Um, I'm not going to compromise quality for saving a few bucks. That's not why I'm here. If you're coming to me, you probably know that. And we're very open about the fact we are not the cheapest option in town. We're probably the most expensive option in town. And you get a lot with that, aside from the quality and the job being done right. And we're going to stand behind it for a very long time. And, it's going to be done correctly. So the discussion was a quote for a radiator and thermostats and associated components in a Subaru. Not a turbo, I think it was just a regular 253 Forester. And the quote was around $700. And, all the DIY guys are jumping in saying how that's astronomical. And the one that set me off was a post saying, yeah, shops aren't charging more than 50 or 60 an hour to do that. They're ripping you off at 2.5 hours labor. It's like, okay. Um, and I didn't respond to that post directly, other than thinking in my head, okay, well, you've clearly not done the job properly. You haven't done a CVT thermostat because, the 45 minutes you're saying everything should take, no. If you smashy bear it, probably. But, it made me think of this Beamer because we had quoted the valve cover. So the car came back in. The coil grounds didn't get reconnected after the Felpro gasket got slapped into the valve cover and held in with a really remarkable amount of Gorilla Snot. Servotronic never got relearned. I mean, it was pretty bad. So after we replaced the DME, the CAS, the valve cover, the Servotronic motor, the breather lines, and I mean, there was a list on this car. Lucas, if you remember, feel free to jump in. I don't remember how much it ended up being. I know it was right in the ballpark of between 8 and 10 grand when it was all said and done. I want to say I charged an extra hour and a half or 2 hours for cleanup, just to get all of the Gorilla Snot and RTV and whatever other adhesives had been used to hold stuff together. It, I mean, that's a great example of not knowing when you're in over your head and when you should just back away. I'm not real quick to say I'm in over my head, but I'm not going to pull the trigger on a massive repair if I'm not comfortable doing the repair. I'm not doing anybody any favors. Um, I think that takes a lot of professionalism to do that, in my opinion. I would rather be honest with someone and tell them, look, this is out of my wheelhouse. This is where we start, but I'm really, this is not in my wheelhouse. And I have rejected jobs over that. Um, I'm not that desperate to get a car in that I'm not qualified or comfortable working on, and it doesn't happen often. Um, but it does happen. The cars that I generally don't want to work on are ones that, their value is equivalent to the shop, and it's not my ability to work on it. It's God forbid something happen. Yes, we have insurance. We have a lot of insurance. We have really good insurance. I really don't want to have to use that as a qualifying factor if I'm going to work on something. Um, we get some pretty high end stuff through, and it doesn't really bother me that much. I mean, we've had Bentleys through, we've had Rollses through, we've had more Beamers, Benzes, crap that I can shake a stick at, Maseratis. I think we've had one or two McLarens, a few Astons. I mean, that stuff doesn't bother me. I'm talking about the seven-figure vehicles that we had a guy call about a P1. As much as I would love to work on one of those, no, absolutely not. When we're talking about a car that's equivalent to my lifetime earnings, no. And it's just the liability involved in something like that. We're not equipped to deal with stuff at that level. How many shops around us are going to take that car and do literally millions of dollars in damage that they have no idea they're doing and have no idea how to get their way out of? Right? I mean, that doesn't do anything good for anybody. Aside from the new owner of that facility after that lawsuit settled. Um, it really aggravates me that the perception that we shouldn't be charging more than 70 or 80 bucks an hour or whatever. It's stupid. It's easy. Any idiot can do it. Well, no, clearly you can't. When you jump up the FAFO scale, you're going to find out, and it's not going to be cheap, and you're not saving anybody money. Doing something cheap is not doing anybody a favor. You're giving them a low quality service, usually with crap parts, because you don't see the value in qualified, trained, competent people doing the job, or you just think it's a ripoff. You're welcome to think that. How many thousands is it going to take you to convince you that you're wrong? How many times do you have to do damage to a car to admit I'm not capable of working on this, or I'm not willing to do it properly, or whatever the reason? Just doing it cheap is not doing anybody a favor. If you're a business and you do it cheap, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing your employees any favors. You're not doing your clients any favors by putting cheap, crappy, bottom of the barrel parts in. You're not helping anything. You're making it worse, because when somebody has to go in behind you and fix that, it is now going to cost more. It's going to take more time. It's going to be a lot more pitfalls and a lot more variables that we don't know about. Stop and think before you jump in and just send it. Come on.